Hello, and welcome back to the CPR Garage channel. In the last episode, I revived and spit shined this Suzuki Boulevard C50 after it sat neglected for years in the seller's garage. There'll be a link at the top right of the screen if you want to watch that episode now. Now we start the build where we customize and modify it on a very low budget. There you go, louder exhaust for free. Just drill 5 half-inch holes in the back of the baffle. Let's see what that sounds like. Sounds tougher. I mean, that ain't bad for free. There you go, boys. First rip. Okay, hopefully you can hear me okay over the fans. It is hot. Okay, so this is step 1 of customizing my 05 Suzuki C50 Boulevard. So what I've done here is, well, this is the very basics of making a chopper. That's why they call it a chopper, because you cut off all the stuff that you don't want. So what I did was, I can't really make it stay right now, but I'm just kind of showing you the concept. I took a plumb bob and hung it centered on the axle here and on the other side right there to find the center, and that's what my green tape line is. So that's the center of the axle to the fender. And then I'm figuring out where I want to cut it. I did a bunch of measuring, laid out the tape, kind of stood back, eyeballed it, because ultimately you want to make the choice with your eyeball because that's what's going to judge it. But top of this blue line is where my first cut's going to be, and that should be pretty close. I wanted to go low enough that I can keep the license plate bracket, but I have to go a certain height because of these holes that I don't really want to mess with filling. So you can see that's the top of those 3 top holes there, so it's just gonna nip them off just barely. Say goodbye to this big ugly duckbill platypus situation. without saying, but don't cut your tire. This is getting new tires anyway, but you know, still don't cut it. Ow! Hot metal shade. Hot. So, and when you do this, kind of the point is to show off that fat back tire. But now it's gonna look all jacked up, so height wise. So lowering it should also be a part of your program. So there you go. Step one to making a bobber. Now, this was the farthest out I was gonna cut. We're gonna take more off, and we are going to radius this guy to kind of match the front here. Okay, in the shop working on bikes this morning before it gets too hot. Got a new rear tire for the Suzuki here, which is my custom build. So this is what the shaft drive rear looks like torn apart. There's the brake drum from the passenger side. There's the drive hub. The gear oil doesn't actually come out when you take it apart. It's a dry fit, I guess, dry connection. Here's my vintage Harbor Freight motorcycle adapter guy with the tire, under tire stand. And so that is what the other side of the drive looks like. So I'm gonna get this tire switched out and balanced, and then I have a lowering kit for the rear. We're gonna finish up chopping the fender. There's my lovely Harbor Freight wheel balancing setup, which seems to work just fine. Front one's all done. I did that yesterday, and she's back on there. So I need to get it all put back together, sitting on the ground how it's gonna sit, and then I will mark and bob the front fender. Yay, here we go. Okay, no, I'm not a Bret Michaels bandana wearing douche. It's hot in here, and I had the wife get me some of these because it keeps the sweat from running right down into your eyeballs. Pretty handy. This one's brand new. It's already soaked. Anyway though, gonna do the final cuts on this fender. This tape line is what I want, and the other side is not marked out yet because here's the pickle of the whole thing when you're doing this, is getting both sides even. So I'm gonna cut this side. I'm gonna cut it halfway around to my mark here, and then I'm going to make, like this is marked here, I'm good with that, but I'm gonna make a template for the other side off of this side. Got my brand new Harbor Freight air saw, body saw, so gonna Earl her up and get to cutting. See if I can find any devices that are supposed to hold this camera. I got this side rough cut. I threw it on the bike real quick to see how it looked, and I'm liking it. So the way it shakes out is this is about level with the ground, which is how my deuce is, which I like, which I'm trying to kind of mimic. So to transfer it to this side, I made a little template by laying a piece of cardboard on there, like so. And then I can't really show you, but yep, wraps around the edge a little bit. So anyway, I traced that and cut it out, and then I flip it over the other way, and this is my tape line. This needs to be about center on there, and that like that, and it wraps around to the mark there. So I did measure to double check, so here we go. I'm gonna cut it, and then it should just need a little sanding and evening up, and good to go. Don't say I never did nothing for you. For the rough cut, I'd say she looks pretty good. Now, just got to do a little evening up and a little bit more mock-up on the bike, and then we're ready to clean this guy up, deburr the edges, and wrap it. Okay, I'm fresh back from my first test ride on the Suzuki after doing the new tires, which involved having the brakes apart and back together. So you can see them brand new Shinkos, and it was good. Now I have to make more changes, so you can see this ain't looking so good now that I bobbed the fender. Still need lights and stuff on the back, but I have a 2-inch lowering kit for the rear. Wanted to test drive it first, so that way if there's any clunks or vibrations or anything like that, we know that it wasn't from the lowering. So there's that. Ride's good. Nice quiet little scooter. So let's get it in and drop the rear down and then look at bobbing the front fender. Okay, so what we've got here is like a 1 to 2 inch lowering kit from Black Path. It was like 30 bucks on Amazon or something like that, maybe more, but basically this is what you get. Okay, what? Oh, okay, yes. So you get these 2 brackets, a couple laser cut steel brackets, some sweet stickers, and a keychain. Nice. So let's get this up on the jack and we'll see what we got, because we got to do something about this situation. Okay, it's kind of hard to show you this while I'm doing it, but from the center of the axle to this rear mounting bolt, we've got about 15 inches, so we should be looking for 13, which if it lowers it 2 inches, we should still have plenty of room. Might have to shorten those bolts a little bit, but other than that, we look plenty good. Oh, hi. How are you there? So, check that out. It's like Inception. I'm filming myself. Anyway, so this is what we got here. Under the bike, like straight in from the transmission, here is what that bracket replaces, is those guys up there. I don't know why the light's doing that. It doesn't do that in real life. But anyway, maybe I can... Sorry for freaking you out. On both sides. So it's what ties the frame to kind of the shock pivot deal. So you can see the... there's the shock up there. So what we're going to do is... and do this reasonably safe. I'm going to put a jack with a block under the back tire to support the weight while we take those bolts out. Then it should be pretty self-explanatory. Okay, yeah, not fun. This was supposed to be the easy part. So unlike a Harley Softail, which has the suspension down here, the shocks, this goes up in here like a dirt bike. This is a lot like a dirt bike rear swing arm suspension setup. So there's my new units in there, and they are on the furthest apart hole from the bottom, which will lower it the most. So it goes this hole, then this hole is actually the lowest. This one is the same as the stock links, but as you can see, I've got the battery and the battery box out, the tool box out, side covers off, fuse box out. That's what it takes to get at all this shit. You can get it from the underneath, but you can't. I wasn't able to get the bolts to come out or anything until I unhooked the shock at the top to take the tension off of it. So the plan here is to get these bolts snugged up, all started, and then I will put the jack under the tire and probably jack the shock back up into its home. And then once I get everything all settled in there, I'll tighten everything. Okay, that was not the simple job it was supposed to be. This is probably about 2.5 hours in, but they're all tight now. There you go. The only bolt I didn't end up taking loose was that one. I had to take this loose, this obviously because that goes through there, that one, and the top one. And then what I had to do to get it back in there was get all of these started, have this drop down and just kind of hang in there, and then after these were all started and just barely snugged, I jacked up on the bottom of the tire to push it up until I got this guy into here, but it was still a fight. So there you go. There's your black whatever racing dog bones. Oh yeah, you totally can't see the other one. It's in there. You have to trust me. I'm gonna set this thing on the ground and see how she looks, and I'm done for tonight. I've had enough. Where's my dang sunglasses? Anyway, this is what I call envisioning mode. Yes. So it looks much better lowered down, but now that it's lower and the glaring gap here is gone, the next thing my eye is drawn to is the gap here, which is fender sticking out way past the back of the tire. So envisioning mode is having it standing up level on my jack with plenty of space and light around it so I can walk around it and look at it. You can see I've already started roughing my ideas out for the front fender cut. Yeah. And then, so this is, I'm going to cut to the bottom of the tape first, even though I measured and marked from the top of the tape. 1 inch wide masking tape is really good. 2 inch is even better, because 2 inch, there's less forgiveness for putting it on crooked. It'll bubble. The 1 inch is still pretty good. If you pull it taut, it's easier to make a straight line with it anyway. But you can see that I'm almost on the fender strut there. And then my line that I made, I don't know if I'm holding this at the right angle for you to see it, but my cut line kind of points at the center line of the axle. And then I measured across the top to make sure it's level. Measured to the fender strut on this side, and also where it meets at the corner is where my bulge part here ends. And again, pointing at the center line of the axle, center line of the tape. So I'm going to take this back off, cut to the bottom of the tape, and we'll throw her back on here and do some more looking till we're happy, and then we'll cut the front fender. I was just going to use the stock license plate, which goes here, but that's part of the too much junk in the trunk problem with Project Sue here. So we're going to bob some more bob. We got a nice big fat tire on the back that's new. We want to show that off. This is going to be like the Japanese ghetto fat bob. Here we go. It's like a baby sawzall. Okay, I don't think that's worth messing with anymore. I think aesthetically that's about as good as she's gonna get. Definitely has the look that I was going for, which is sort of this. That's a Harley Breakout back fender. Of course, it's a lot wider. It's for like a 200 tire, and we can't do the little flare up at the back because this is steel and this is plastic. So I am happy enough with that to start mocking up the taillight situation and turn signals. I think she needs to go down a little bit more, so I'm gonna see if I can get that done with the adjustment on there. Okay, so here's my creative process. Is I start off of the axle center line with where I'm gonna chop, and I throw the 1-inch tape on there, just eyeballing it. And then I start measuring stuff and measuring angles. So I use my little angle finder and I just stuck it to a ruler to measure the angle of the rear fender, which I figured was about 45. It's actually 50. It's 50 degrees. So what I did on the front cut, I started eyeballing how short I want the fender to be, and then I matched the angle down the side at 50 degrees. So the front one, I got the angle good, but I want to cut more off, so I'm going to cut on the outside of the second tape to start with, and then I might end up taking another inch off of that. We'll see. And then the bottom is going to be a straight cut, and I just eyeballed that and I lined it up with that top nub on the caliper. So that's starting cut for the front. Here we go. Okay, we have a quick break in the action here, i.e. my music stopped playing, so why not show you some things. So here is a cardboard template that I made for my license plate bracket and taillight holder guy. So it's gonna sit like this. The top part will be straight up and down, and the bottom angled for the plate. So she'll go on there like that. And I got a little cat eye LED taillight, so rough cut it out of metal there, and it is going to weld to this here, which I've just tacked in. This is the stock bracket for the blinkers, as you can see. So there were 2 holes on this subframe, this fender frame here, right in this spot, that are in the same spot, and they ended up right about where my fender ends. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mount my blinkers, just the stock blinkers, to there. I'm gonna have to end up drilling a hole in the side of the fender, and they'll just mount right to the side of that there. But what I need to figure out is how to mount this guy so that the top part of it is pretty close to the bottom of the fender, and it's at 90 degrees to the world, so that it's straight up and down. The bike is like 2 degrees off from level, so we're just gonna say it's level. And anyway, the way the fender comes on and off is these bolts, but you can't just fit it out of there because you can see they fit tight against the side. So what I've done is when I take it back off, I loosen this bolt and take these 2 bolts out so that I can pull this frame, the fender frame there, away from it. So yeah, 20 more minutes of fiddling and we might have something to show for it. Here we go. Okay, I'm out here working and I'm not videoing a whole lot. I got my earbuds in because I'm just jamming music because I'm not having a good day. Anyway, I'm just gonna show you real quick what I got going here with the stock blinkers. So here is one of them, and the way that I modified this back fender, this guy is gonna go right in there and it will just tighten down against the outside of the fender. It's gonna be a bit of a booger to get the nut in there, but the other side, is that still digging in? I don't think so. The one on the other side is longer for some reason. So anyway, I'm wiring it up, getting the inner brace in there, bring you back and show it to you when it's done. Okay, I got smudgy handprints and a little bit of scratches on here, but I'm going to show you the easiest way that I've found to get this fender on and off, because I've had it on and off a bunch of times for mock-up. My tip for getting this fender on and off is I've left this strut on the whole time. I just started the bolts. This one threads in, that one uses a nut in there. So they're started because the inner skeleton in there, the bolt goes into that through these holes. So then what I do is I will put this side on, get it started in the fender, and then bolt this strut on. So these little washers go on first. Okay. And then I broke my tripod. It's over there in the garbage. So I'm going to get this started on here and I'll bring you back. Okay, in almost about 30 years of riding motorcycles and working on them, I've never had this before. Have you? Oh, why are you? I locked it. Okay, let me just take the key out real quick. There's something inside the handlebars. I'm assuming from when they put these grips on, they dropped a nut or a screw. Let's find out what that is together. Let's find out what the hell it is that's in there. Why can't I go? Get in there, you. I'm hitting something in there. Okay, I had to totally take the clamps off of the bars and tip that end up to finally get it down here, and it's two somethings, and we're about to find out what they are. What the heck are those? There's some kind of a... Hold on. Okay, well there you go. Some brand new nut insert thingies. They look like the same kind of greenish zinc as a bunch of other of the stock hardware. I'm guessing that whatever butthole threw those in there, it was at the factory. Guess if it was at the factory, it could have been an accident. Like the handlebars are all laying somewhere ready to get put on bikes, and these somehow fall in there. People don't notice, but I mean, you could hear it even just turning the handlebars on the stand. They would roll back and forth. So I feel like somebody did it to be a jerk. But anyway, yeah, I bet you those have been in there since it was brand new. Leave me a comment if you know where those go. I assume these are extras for ones that go somewhere on the bike, but I don't know where.